I didn't expect to do this one, but here we go. We got the Great League PvP IV deep dive for Buzzwole. The reason why I didn't really want to do this video was because I don't really support Great League Buzzwole, because the only way you can get one is through the paid event exclusive research, right? So that's a paywall to what may be a meta Pokemon, which I find to be quite lame. But one of my patrons, Big Jake 6'5", was kind of asking me about his Buzzwole IVs, noticing that his Bad IV Buzzwole was performing pretty well in the Matrix simulations against the Rank 1 Buzzwole. So I decided to take a peek at it, and I found that it was really easy to crack the code on Great League Buzzwole. So I figured I'd share this information with all you guys to help you verify if your Buzzwole is bad or not. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the true stats of Pokemon, which you can't see in the app. If you want more information on true stats or PvP IVs in general, how to figure all that stuff out, I'll link up above and in the description to my PvP IVs simplified video. In this video, I'll also be providing PvP IV tables, so you don't have to have that deeper knowledge to really get the gist of everything. But if you check out that video, it definitely will help get your feet wet before you dive off into the deep end here. Also, link in the description will be to my article on GamePress, the Buzzwole PvP IV deep dive, covering all the information in this video and a couple more nuggets here and there on the Great League Buzzwole, so you can reference this information in a text-based format instead of scrolling through a video you already watched several times to try to find the part that you're looking for. Starting out, here are the 16 bad IV Buzzwoles. These are the Buzzwoles that you don't want to have. When you get a research caught Pokemon, there are 216 different IV variations, and these 16 are the bad ones. So good news is that roughly 93% of people that obtained a research Buzzwole have a good IV Buzzwole. And then if you're of the 7%, well, I got some good news for you. A lucky traded Buzzwole. So if you trade your Buzzwole for somebody else's Buzzwole, and it's a lucky trade, which you get by having lucky friendship, you can guarantee that, then 100% of Buzzwole that are lucky traded will have the good IVs as per my standard. So if you don't have these IVs, you don't have anything to worry about. And if you do have these IVs, well, consider looking at your friends and getting a lucky trade organized here so you can upgrade your Buzzwole. What do all these numbers mean? Well, that's what the deep dive is for, the fun part, where I talk about the numbers. Running a bunch of different matrix simulations on Buzzwole at various different stat weights, I found that roughly a 107 defense stat with a 117 HP stat was pretty consistent for Buzzwole. Like most Buzzwole that meet that kind of bulk standard perform roughly as well as most other Buzzwole in most situations. 107.55 is kind of like the snob iteration of that, like the higher standard. And the main point to the defense is just to keep the HP weight consistent. So if you do have a lower defense Buzzwole, that can be made up for with higher HP. When it came to the table of 16 that I showed you guys before, that table was handcrafted by me, so it already accounts for the defense to HP ratio, so you don't have to worry about checking that out yourself. But if you did already trade some Buzzwole and you got lower defense than the 107, but you've got, higher HP than like 118, well, then it could be worth considering. For example, one of my patrons already traded their Buzzwole and they got one that has like 105.8 defense, but because they have 121 HP, running a matrix simulation on it compared to the other Buzzwole, it was a-okay for the most part. Nothing to worry about there. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the stats of your Pokemon, if that's something that you do beyond just looking at the tables. I also noticed that there was an attack weight of 127.74 attack. That was pretty nice in several matchups, including but not limited to Sableye, Shadow Swampert, and Venusaur. So yeah, but all the research Buzzwole already meet that attack standard, so you really don't have anything to worry about there. They're already doing it. And to get things ultra confusing here, while all three of these stats are the generalized good Buzzwole, they also hone in on the Sableye matchup specifically. So yeah, with a 1 fast move energy lead here, you can see that Buzzwole is able to overcome Sableye in the 2-2 shield scenario, double throwing the lunges and closing with the superpower. Now you may be thinking, Ryan Swag, what if Sableye just doesn't shield the lunge? Well, superpower does 44 damage and lunge does 50 damage. So you'd actually beat the Sableye faster The reason why you close out with the superpower is because the superpower has a lower energy cost, so you reach it sooner, just enough time to take out the Sableye here. So having that whole combination, the attack weight, the defense, and HP bulk ratio, that will allow you to more consistently achieve this outcome against Sableye, and not just the rank 1 Sableye, but Sableye with, higher attack weights too. So yeah, pretty nice. Kind of paints a picture of how useful Buzzwole can be in the Great League meta, because, consider the illegal team, the most popular team in Great League PvP. You got the Medicham, you got the Bastiodon, you got the Sableye, and all three of those Pokemon, for the most part, don't want to fight Buzzwole. So is Buzzwole a core breaker? Is Buzzwole meta? Should Pokemon Go be paywalling this, meta Pokemon? I don't think so. I think it's pretty whack. So hopefully, one day, sometime soon maybe, Pokemon Go extends the Buzzwole research love to all players and not just ticket holders. But that's not the focus of this video. We're focusing on the IVs. So let's say you're of the 7% sad saps that did not get the good IV Buzzwole from their research. You got one of these Buzzwole. Ugh. Oh, what do? Well, I got some fantastic news for you. Lucky traded Buzzwoles, because of how their stats fall, 100% of the time will meet the swag standard. They will have the good enough IVs for Buzzwole. So if you got one of these Buzzwole, talk to your friends, find somebody that you can go lucky with, and then just do a lucky trade and swap Buzzwole for Buzzwole. And now you have a Buzzwole that should be as good as most other Great League Buzzwole. Pretty fantastic. Now, let's say you don't believe in this lucky trade nonsense. Maybe you want to get IV spreads that got even greater bulk ratios than what a lucky trade could offer you. Well, now you're getting into some risky business here. And what I find is you have roughly a 2 to 15% chance of significantly upgrading your Buzzwole by going for a non-lucky trade. So that's pretty slim. To add to that, you have roughly a 30 to 20% chance of getting a significantly worse Buzzwole. One that's so bad that you probably should have stuck with the one that you got from the research to begin with level of bad, kind of Buzzwole. So to that end, it probably, keeps me away from doing that. One thing that's kind of interesting about that situation too is that your chances of getting a good IV Buzzwole is higher if you do a best friend trade. This has to do with the fact that Buzzwole has such a high attack stat to begin with that a lot of the better IVs, at least stat product wise, end up having a bit of an attack weight already, because the higher a stat is in comparison to other stats, the less influence IVs in that stat influence the CP multiplier. And then there's also kind of a random roll of the dice luck factor to it too, and things just lined up that way for Buzzwole. But running the numbers on it, you do have better odds going with a best friend trade. So the low end, the 2%, that's if you go with a good friend trade. The high end, the 15%, that's going to be a best friend trade. And then when it comes to getting the super bad IVs, you ruined your Buzzwole, 30% chance if you're going with the good friend there, and then 20% chance if you're going for the best friend. As for me, personally, if I had a chance to, trade for a Buzzwole there, I'd probably go for the lucky trade just because 100% guaranteed. No chance of failure. But, don't let me stop you from gambling your Buzzwole. The thrill of gambling, as they say, is believing in your own luck. If you're looking at your Buzzwole and you're thinking, oh, Ryan Swag, I could maybe trade, I could maybe do better, but you're already meeting the good standard, don't risk it, man. I wouldn't risk it. But once again, don't let me stop you from making your own mistakes, right? At any rate, if you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, you want to see more like it, well, maybe you should subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. Now, I imagine a lot of people want me to do a Ultra League Buzzwole, and I was kind of hoping to just not do a PvP IV deep dive until we get the Season 12 announcement, because I do expect there to be a lot of changes that come with that, which could, influence which Pokemon I pick and which matchups are significant for, future PvP IV deep dives. So we'll see what happens when we get there. But Ultra League Buzzwole doesn't look too bad either. Looks pretty good, so definitely on the radar.